previously in BRS. Yo! JD here, Limitless, and we are back once again on F1 2021 as always, and we are here for round 3 of BRS, the British Racing Series League, and we arrive at Monte Carlo, Monaco, and I wasn't particularly looking forward to this, but it should play into the strengths of what my driving style is, which is usually consistency. So not getting any damage, not getting any penalties, but of course track position is arguably the most important factor around this track, and you can see this up here. We were over 2 tenths down, but we ended up improving by almost 2 tenths, so it shows what kind of raw speed we have. And I said it before in other videos, I feel this game I finally got the raw speed with the consistency as well, because Monaco Online seems to be a lot harder than the time trial, so I think a mid to low 7 is a very good time. You can see we do a 7.6. I think we could have done even faster than that. So we're here at Monaco. This is where it matters. Those laps do not count anymore, and you should have been able to see the standings previously as we were doing that lap, and that was made by Basket Case, so thank you so much to him. Make sure you check him out in the description down below. But we arrive here and we won the last race, but we didn't win it on track, and the first 2 races I think we've come about P3 on track like every time, so I really wanted to win on track for a start, but just try and assert some dominance, because people such as Noah and Radionics, who couldn't make this race today unfortunately, they've been very, very impressive. And as you can see here, we almost, that could have been the end of the qualifying. That could have been me going out of this qualifying starting last, and that would have been a complete disaster. Because see, we're gonna go for another lap on these tyres, because they are very durable around this circuit, and pretty much most circuits you could get away with doing multiple laps on the same tyre. But I felt very good coming into this race, and as I said before, in race situations around this track, I've always felt I've had very strong pace. I've been able to keep it ultra consistent, which is the main thing, but I've always kind of lacked that raw pace. But now in this game, I feel I've finally been able to combine the two, and it's working out very, very well. That was definitely the thing that was missing from the last couple of games, 2019 and 20. I definitely had that consistency, and usually consistency does trump the raw pace quite a lot, but if I was able to get both of them together, then that would have been a very lethal combination. You can see here we're improving on our lap very nicely so far. And Ricardo, who's in P2, he's actually the world record holder around this track, so he is extremely fast around here, faster than anyone with no assist. He did like a 6.6 or 7, which I think time trial's a lot faster around Monaco, mainly due to the tyre temperatures and everything as that. But you can see we come P1 in that first session at 8.0 on our second lap on those tyres, ahead of the world record holder around here. And I think a lot of people, when they watch a Monaco League race, when they see someone doing really well and others not, if you get a hint of damage, you instantly lose 3 to 5 temps per lap. You really have to have clear air, and you could be made to look a lot worse than you really are. Now, Monaco is a very, very brutal place, so I definitely put in the work to try and make sure I'm going to be near the front row, because I haven't even qualified on the front row so far this season. And we're going out on the medium tyre, because you may have seen there was actually rain scheduled for the end of this race. So I really do want to be the lead car going into that situation. And plus my teammate is actually quite quick around this track as well, so I definitely want to be ahead of him. But ideally I really wanted to be on pole, and I wanted to make sure that I was on the medium so that when the rain came I didn't have to pit before, because the softs I don't think would have quite made it beyond really plus 30 minutes or something like that, which is when the rain is projected. But you can see here we're just driving really well. I drove really well in this race, and you're about to see it in this qualifying as well. The only part I didn't drive well is in the next part of the qualifying Q3, and you can see we do an 8.3 on mediums. I have actually done an 8.1, believe it or not, or almost 8.0. So I think a 7.2 or something on softs or 3 is the absolute perfect gap. It is so hard to hook up. But you can see again, we do have quite a big advantage. Noah, my main championship rival, the joint championship leader, he is on the controller. And from experience, I know how difficult the controller is around here. This is probably, or it is, the worst track for controller. But you can see our first run in Q3, we actually hit the wall. The MFD doesn't tell you on this game at the moment if you got damage, but I could instantly tell we did suffer a little bit of damage. And as I said, just the slightest bit of damage, it just costs you so much lap time. So we're going for another lap. So not an ideal start to Q3, but this actually turns out to be my fastest lap. So not being that aggressive into turn 1. So this is going to be the fastest lap we do in Q3, just to reiterate. But you can see just nice and kind of cautious, nothing too crazy coming through here. But it is a 0.9, a very low 0.9 first sector. So that is a very good first sector. My best is a very low 8. So that's not really too bad at all. And so far the lap is looking nice and tidy. But coming off the exit here, it's a little bit too much wheel spin. And you can see I wasn't a fan of that exit. Now coming out of the tunnel, a very iconic corner, but coming to here, do we do this nicely? Yeah, we do that pretty well. A little bit wide on the exit, but not too bad at all. Now coming through into the swimming pool. What's the split? It's a 5.5, so not setting the world on fire, but again, just a little bit cautious. That's one of the things I've been doing in league races in this game. In Q3, I've just been a bit cautious where I haven't been throwing everything at it, but sometimes it is better if you just go all out attack. And it's an 8.1, so respectable. But in Q1, we actually went faster on my second lap, and we got an 8.0. So I like to think in Q3, the track evolution is going to be quite high, that there's going to be a lot more room on the table. But you can see already, just being a bit more aggressive in turn 1, we've already gone up on our time. And if we pay attention to this delta, we're going to lose a little bit here, but I think gain it on the exit again. And now this is an 8 first sector, so this is definitely more like it here. Really hooking up nicely. We didn't do this particularly well on the last lap, almost running out wide, but you can see we've gained a 1/10 of a second just for that small adjustment. And do we get a better exit here? And you can see how much of a better exit we get. Those small details really do make a big difference. Coming out of the tunnel now, can we match what we did? Because we actually did this quite well, so we pretty much matched what we did and actually improving. Doing this nice, really carrying a lot more speed. Coming to another purple middle sector, that's really good. Can we make up some time here? But we just don't do that right. We actually hit the wall, and I think that is giving us damage. And you can just see the chronic understeer. No. That shows you how significant it is to keep your car undamaged around Monaco. And yeah, very annoying. And I was actually quite worried because I thought someone was going to beat that. And you could see my teammate almost did beat that 0.026. And if I was behind him,
that would have been a pain in the
this could be a completely different race. It's all about track position. And Louis Carno actually failed to get through into Q3. He suffered damage himself. So the world record holder, you can see Monaco in TT, you can get it right over laps, but when there's damage on and you have a limited amount of opportunities, that's where the hard task really is. So we've done what we needed to do here. We're on pole as the lights are going 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. It's crucial that we stay in the lead going to someone's. As they go out now, trying to get a good start. We get a very, very good start. That's good. But going into this turn 1, we have this guy absolutely kamikazing it into turn 1. And I'm afraid to say, with this game, the invite only function doesn't work, so people can still join. And unfortunately, this guy was, yeah, you can see what he was trying to do there. But thankfully, at least one good thing Codemasters have done is that the ghosting system, if you're driving through loads of cars, it will ghost you. And thankfully, he was ghosted there. Otherwise, we would like to think we would do a restart, but that moment has now passed. Now we've just got to focus on keeping ahead of our teammates. So the last person I want right behind me is my teammate, because if he gets ahead of me, or I get damaged or something like that, and there's rain coming as well, I've really got to stay ahead of him, because otherwise, as I said, all this pace we've shown is really good, but you just have to keep it clean. And you have to be in the right place at the right time. So I'm going to be pushing fairly hard now to try and get out of the DRS zone. But when I say hard, I'm always leaving just a little bit room on the table. So just probably giving myself probably a little bit more than a centimetre more than we did in the qualifying. But giving myself some extra leeway between myself and the barriers. Because you've seen how significant it is. If you get one piece of damage, then I can confidently say that you're probably going to be losing close to half a second a lap than what you would be lapping at. And that's just going to get worse and worse as your tyres get more worn. It really is such a crucial thing. And if you're not leading the race and you're in this traffic, it's almost impossible to overtake as well. You're going to have to take risks to overtake someone. It's really a nightmare situation. So we are obviously in the perfect place right now, but that can quickly change. You can see going through that section in qualifying, we actually mounted over that second curb. You may notice that I'm actually missing that completely, because that curb's a little bit of a lottery. Sometimes it auto spits you out and it makes you to lose your rear end. In the race, I really didn't want to run that risk at all, so I'm just completely avoiding that. So just leaving about 10% of the speed on the table just to ensure that I am ultra consistent. But you can see, coming across the line, we improve our fast lap again, but then our teammate responds. So he is in the DRS zone. We've pulled out a big gap to the cars behind, which is really what I want to do. I want to try and pull as big gap as I can, but my teammate is still hanging on quite nicely. So this is where I'm going to start trying to ramp up the pressure a little bit more. You can see he's 3 tenths behind, so he's actually got quite good straight line speed, which does say to me that he is running maybe just a slightly lower downforce than what we are doing. So I really wanted to try and get him out of this DRS zone so then I could just focus on my race, because having this arrow really close to me is a little bit distracting and you don't want that pressure. So I just want a nice clean race where I'm not under any pressure whatsoever and I can really just go at my own pace. But you can see here, with the downforce, I believe we're carrying more than Robin. You can see we've actually pulled out a pretty decent margin in this Sector 2. And if you want this setup, then become a YouTube member, and I will be posting it because I've already posted it in my YouTube members only Discord. And thank you to everyone who has supported in that so far. But you can see now on this app, we've actually done what we needed to do. And I had a feeling that Robin has actually hit the wall. He's had that slight damage. You can see a car's actually parked up there. And we'll be able to see in this first sector, the gap is 1.5. So we've got out of this DRS zone. So we've done what we needed to do, improving on my own fastest lap of this race. But if you continue to look at the delta I think it's very obvious that he has made a mistake and he has been punished for it now, because you can see it's gone up to 2 seconds now, and that's exactly what you have to try and avoid. And you can see the gap has now gone up to 4 seconds. So I think with our pace and everyone else maybe suffering with damage slightly, it just shows what can happen. And if you're clean and you have the pace, then you really are in a superior position, as he's actually decided to pit because I think he was just suffering too much with that damage there. And so far we haven't made a single mistake. We've just been flawless in the way we've been driving, just keeping it clean, no warnings or anything either. And you can just see this gap is going up and up, and you can see by the lap time we're still just being ultra consistent as well, sometimes pushing with the ERS, sometimes not. But you can start to see the weather is starting to change. It is starting to get a little bit more of a dull sky, a bit more of a concrete sky, as we have in the UK, where it's pretty much grey all the time. But you can see that gap has come up quite significantly now, still lapping very well. So you can see the gap is 19.9 seconds. As we skip on ahead, I believe Kimi and Noah have pitted for another set of mediums in case the rain maybe doesn't come. We can see Mers behind is 25.3 seconds, so we'll pay attention to that gap because he hasn't pitted. We've got about 40% tyre wear, but I just wanted to take you on board this lap because this is just a perfect example of how I was driving in this race, where we are being committed but we are being controlled and just leaving a little bit of room on the table, but still driving fast enough where we just have this really good pace. And I have to say the setup I'm using here is pretty similar to my TT. There's not really many changes, but tire temperatures were an issue for everyone around here, and I just found I had the perfect balance in what I needed to do for what works for me. And you could just see the gap between myself and Mers, who is a very good driver himself. It's just going up so quickly. And as I said, I think sometimes Monaco could be very brutal because it can make people look like they don't have the pace, but if they have damage or they're out of position and someone is just lapping very consistently, then they will be punished for it. And I think right here we're driving one of the best races I've done in league racing in terms of consistency. And Monaco, I think this is the best I've actually ever driven at Monaco. This game, it just works for me at the moment. We just have the raw speed that I said that we were missing on the last couple of games. Just that extra 10th or 2/10 of a second. I think we have definitely found it here as we're almost going straight on. So the rain is well and truly coming. I think it has actually arrived. In fact, you can see everyone else has pitted behind me. I was thinking about putting on the softs about 5 or so laps before to go for a faster lap, but I could have done that for that extra point. But with Monaco, all it takes is one mistake to lose my tyre or something like that, or a safety car, and it could be completely over. So I just wanted to focus on continuing my rhythm, going at my own pace. And now we're going to power slide into the pits here, which is nice. And we're going to go on the intermediate tyres, which will be the first time in a league race I've done in this game. I have practiced with these tyres, so I do know
of course I get help.
What I feel like, as I have the audacity to complain about being held despite the margin we have, which usually when I'm in a league race or winning or something like that, it's very difficult. But today we've just done everything we needed to do. It's as simple as that. I know the people who I'm racing against are very fast. As I said, we've got the world record holder in here, but if you don't hook up the lap and you don't get in the right position, then it makes it a very difficult race. And if you add damage into that equation as well, then it's not going to be good. But you can see the gap is 44 seconds to Kimi, about 52 seconds to Noah, my championship rival. You can see they've got penalties behind as well. We still haven't got a single warning this race. Not one warning, not one touch of the barrier. It's been almost a perfection drive that we've done so far. And I think in most leagues, I think this pace, I would be in a pretty good contention to win or have a podium. I feel like we had an extra gear to go to as well if we really did need it, but everything was just working perfectly in conjunction. And these are the kind of races I don't mind once in a while. Now, having a big lead where you just having to manage everything yourself. Quite usually I'm chasing someone down, or I'm being hounded or harassed or winning on penalties. But to show this raw speed and consistency, I hope you don't mind, but for me, I certainly don't mind if we have this now and again, because believe me, sometimes some moments are very, very stressful. But you can see we've extended this gap even more, showing that we have the speed in the wet as well, most certainly, which is definitely comforting to see as we're coming around the last few corners now. It might have been a boring one potentially, but I will take this all day as we're now finally going to win on track in this league, and one of the most dominant drives I've done in a league race. No scream here, that only happens when there's a lot more potentially on the line, or something drastic happens, or we're winning on penalties, it was by a tenth or something. But I just felt so relaxed this race. You can see no warnings whatsoever, and we have now extended our lead in this championship. But we arrive at Baku next, a track that I do love but hasn't been particularly kind to me. I just want to say thank you again for everyone for the support for the streams, which I'll be live streaming these league races every Saturday night at 7:30 UK time. And I also want to thank some new extra rotation members and some current ones. If you join this membership part of the program, then I will be giving you a shout out every single video I do. So thank you to X Smithy, to Justin, to Zenvius, to Farmer Envoy Extreme, to Luca and Nolan Henan. Thank you so much for becoming that part of the membership, and for all the members who have joined recently. Thank you, and I will catch you next time. Peace.